Okay, I think you guys can hear me now. I think so, at least. Let me just check and make sure. On my own phone, you guys can actually hear me. See? Yeah, you guys can hear me now. Alright, there we go. Let me just pull up Epic Pen. This thing. Ignore. And yeah, let's get to it. I didn't make an update yesterday or the day before. I do apologize about that. Hey Anton, amazing, what's going on? New weapons has already had me losing harder than ever. Yeah. I mean, I played DreadWringer. So, I lost the first match, but I got used to it. So, I have to say, Storm, you're muted. Yeah, I have a new mic now, so I just have to press the button here. So, I don't have to go back to OBS to mute myself anymore. All I have to do is just press the mute button on the mic over here. And it should be fine, so. Makes it a lot easier to actually, like, do stuff on stream. But yeah, like I was saying, I missed the update. What happened when I was gone, when I made the update when Idalia was here yesterday. Not yesterday, on Tuesday. What happened since then, Franklin moved like this, and it's up here now. Idalia moved in. Go back there. Idalia moved into the Big Bend. It came out. It moved across the southeast, and it's bended back down here. Made landfall as a Cat 3 here. A strong Cat 3. It weakened down from its Cat 4 intensity. Its minimal Cat 4 intensity. Jose here formed recently in the open Atlantic. Gert was down here and it's made its way up here. And this is TD12. It just came off the coast of Africa, is now developing out here. Shouldn't be too much of an issue for people, but it's interesting that this did form. And we'll have to watch this one as it moves this way eventually. And Franklin's up here. It's still a hurricane somehow. And it should transition as it moves out out north like that. We'll transition into what Idalia is right now. So, talk about that. So, we won't talk really too much about Idalia besides the fact that it's still bringing winds to Bermuda because it's a larger system now. So, yeah. Jose's accelerating northward. Because it's south of Franklin, because Franklin still has outflow with it, the wind that's coming out of Franklin is cutting across the system, so it's not going to get too strong in the waters up here because of that. I believe that's in the forecast discussion. It should be somewhere in the forecast discussion. Yeah, shear from the outflow, for the Franklin outflow from Franklin. Yeah, so the center will be exposed and then it should start weakening down. Well, dissipating, but it will stay around 50 miles per hour where it is now for the current moment. I do not want to go there. There we go. So it should merge in with Franklin eventually. It's just going to move north and then merge in. Tropical depression Gert, it's back. Could become a tropical storm again after 11 days, so this is interesting. Because it was down, because when Franklin was all the way down here originally, when Franklin was here, Gert was here. It developed briefly, and then it weakened down to basically nothing. And now it's moved back up here, so if it gets its tropical storm status back again, it's going to be pretty cool to see that journey. Would it be too impactful? Not really, but for a history books, it's going to be interesting. So, we'll take that. It's a sign in a good direction. Idalia moving away from the coast is also a very good thing. It's post-tropical now, but it's supposed to bring tropical storm conditions to Bermuda on Saturday. So, we'll look at the arrival time on... Use the cone first, actually. Yeah, so its wind field is pretty large now compared to what it was over here. It had a large wind field when it was making landfall in Florida in the first place, but because it's transitioned from a tropical storm, which would be... I'm trying to draw like what a hurricane icon will look like. Something like that. It's transitioned from one of these into one of these. Just one of these, but it has the cold front with it. It's transitioned into one of these types of storms. So it's driven by differences in temperature now, not really the ocean itself anymore. So it has a large wind field because of that. It's going to move through Bermuda. It's bringing tropical storm force winds to them now. It's going to continue doing that, probably even through Saturday. This is like early Sunday morning, and then it pulls away as it transitions even more into the open Atlantic as it moves northward. So post-tropical now, but it's supposed to become back to tropical soon, and then retransition again. So we'll see how that pans out. If you live in Bermuda, expect rain. I gotta try to find on the tropical tippets how much rain you're getting, but definitely expect the winds and swells from the storm itself because it's much larger than what it was when it was over here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Wind and waves are always a danger, especially rip currents. Rip currents can always be a danger if you're in the water because you don't see them, so they easily pull you out. Now, arrival time of winds are already there. So I would expect these to last for at least like 48 hours of tropical storm force winds over there. If we look at the wind history, and if we believe this was the track, yeah, it was a Cat 3 here. If I can get the drawing, I could just go back and use the wind history. There we go. Alright, it was a Cat 3 here when it made landfall. It's a Cat 4 here, but weakened down as it approached land. It was a Category 1 over most of Georgia, so the hurricane force winds extended pretty far inland, away from the coast. And then those tropical storm force winds kept the storm surge piling up on the east coast, the Carolinas, and it brought plenty of rain. I think it dropped around 4 to 5 inches of rain in this area. I probably should have made an update on that. I should have did it, but I was too lazy. I have to not make that mistake again. And now it's impacting Bermuda. So, started here. Well, not here. Well, not here directly. Its original starting point, the energy that brought it, started in Central America and then came up here. Developed in this area east of the Yucatan, even though it was originally supposed to develop over it, and then it just moved north. So, I think I posted the graphic of the post where there's like been 8 notable storms that hit the U.S. coastline. It's been 7 major hurricanes, but like 8 notable storms. No, not 8, 9, because Delta was a thing. So, yeah. It's gonna be pretty interesting. I can also kind of talk about that on, like, I could draw it, but I have to get the full NHC map for this to really try and explain that one. I should have it somewhere. I gotta find it. But yeah, so these should move out into the open Atlantic and dissipate. So this one shouldn't be too much of an issue, besides swells and impacts of shipping interests. So as this clears out, that should pave the way for this wave right here to move into this area. Now the question is like after this clears out, does the ridge just build back in? Because the faster this clears out, the ridge will build back in, and this can get farther west. But if there's still like something here that's just stuck here, like if there's already like one of these storms here, or there gets like a cold front that comes down, although that's less likely, it's most likely going to be like either Idalia or Gert just sitting in this area for too long. It's likely Idalia. If that occurs, then that most likely will give the storm like a pathway to recurve out of there. But it's too early to know that. So we'll look at satellite imagery. Interesting. Look at satellite imagery. The remnants of Franklin. Okay, Franklin's already post-tropical now. Gert's actually a tropical storm again. Typhoon Silo. Oh, I have to talk about that. I think it's making landfall. Tropical Storm Jose. TD12. A lot of stuff that we have to talk about. We'll get to the Atlantic floater in the Atlantic wide shot. This one. So I'll pause it there. So the mess, which is this, is all the storms in this area. This is Gert. This is Jose. This is what's no, not there. There we go. This is what's left of Idalia, and this is Franklin up here, which is easier to see. So these are the storms right now. So it's a big mess of stuff up here, of interactions going on. Franklin is transitioning earlier. There's this convection over Central America. Could turn into something eventually. We'll have to check the East Pacific one for that one. Yes, yeah. So it's convection here, so something might try and bubble up in Eastern Pacific. So we'll check that one out as well. And there's that wave that's coming off Africa that's supposed to move into this general area and start developing. So watching this wave, that's TD12. So we're watching this one, and then other waves that come on after that to see what they develop into. So look at the forecast model. And we'll switch to the North Atlantic. You guys can always access this website. You can type it in just like it is here, because all the websites should be visible to you, so you guys should be able to see them. Alright, so that's Franklin, that's Idalia, that's Gert, that's Jose. Hard to see though. That's TD12, and there's this extratropical storm up here, and that convection over Central America, and that wave. So date and time is up here. If you don't know where the date and time is, it's up here. Let me get a better color for that though. We'll use white. Yeah, we'll use white. There we go. Alright. Okay, date and time is up here. This is the 12Z run, which was a few hours ago. So this is how it looked then, 6 hours out. So 6 hours would be around now or just after now. So we'll take this out like a few days in. Franklin keeps transitioning into one of those storms. It doesn't seem to get pulled up close to Greenland. Doesn't seem to do that. Seems to get tugged into this into some sort of circulation over here next to Britain, France, and Spain. Well, near Western Europe. Gets entangled in there and then moves in, like later down the run. Idalia here is still pretty broad. It does get more convection to it. It does strengthen down a bit when it gets close to Bermuda. But then when it pulls away, it starts weakening down again. Closer to the 5-day mark. And it cuts a hole in the ridge here. Because... let me use black here. Cuts a hole in the ridge. So, this storm... so, Idalia being here, the remnants of it, cuts this ridge. So, there's a weakness here. But the wave hasn't really developed yet. At least by looking at this map. It hasn't really developed itself. Just refreshing chat just to make sure nothing goes wrong. Because I know sometimes chat doesn't always tell me everything that's actually happening. So I have to make sure that my chat on my phone actually works. So the ridge itself will be like around here. This is where the ridge is. So there's a bit of a weakness, but the wave there that's coming off Africa hasn't really developed yet. There's that Eastern Pacific storm trying to get its act together. As that pushes off. Get something else that comes off the US East Coast. And this is pretty far out. The wave on a GFS doesn't develop. This GFS didn't even develop Idalia early on.